Hey guys, it's another brand new episode today. Some couple of days back, I posted on the forum and also made a video about 7 ways real estate can make you really filter rich. And believe me, I got quite some impressive feedbacks. I'll be posting a few screenshots to make you see what some real estate investors all over the world have to say about their investments and their own experience so far being in the real estate investment industry. Location, location, location. Where is the property located? And that 99.9% of the time is still the most frequently asked information anyone, including new investors and any common man, would want to know about at the mention of a real estate deal or offer, which of course is a very good approach except for one fact. If only you know or you have a very good idea of what it really means and how far it could help you shape your decision-making processes for profit making, either in the short, mid, or long-term view in terms of real estate investment. Mark my words, location is of utmost importance to any valuable real estate. A good real estate location can signify different perspectives to different people, of course, but there are some objective factors when it comes to location that determine how really valuable a property is and can be in the nearest future. Depending on your perspective, needs, and personal preferences, you may not be able to build or buy a house or any other property like that with all the factors I'm going to talk about in this episode, and that's fine. But having these few solid facts about location very handy would help you at any point in time during your decision-making processes. I know a very young man, a very successful real estate investor today, whose father is also a very successful civil engineer and was awarded a contract to reclaim some portions of Lagos from the lagoon, especially the Lekki areas, in the late 80s, some 40 years ago. He was offered a deal to get a percentage of his payment in some plots of land from those he would reclaim from the ocean, and I'm certain with an ocean view, and as well get the rest payment in cash, but he refused the offer and decided to take all his payment in cash just because probably he felt the lands were too close to the ocean. He also decided to make all his real estate investments close to about 20 properties in a particular city but different locations somewhere outside of Lagos State. Recently, at the course of the father's discussion with his son, whom instead has all his real estate investments scattered across Lagos Island from Lekki to Ajah to Ogombo to Abramade Soya to Sogotedo and more, he realized that just one of the houses the son owns in Lekki is worth far more in value than all his 20 real estate properties and investment put together, combined. That is serious. For father and son, different locations, the same investment strategy, different profit value. And that was simply as a result of their choices. So today we'll be talking about everything that has to do with location and why it is very important when it comes to real estate investment. Welcome to the Bishop Realty from Queen's Impressions. Hi, I'm Alolu Ashegun. You can call me the Bishop, and I am here to make you really filthy rich. If you're new here, I say welcome on board. If you're already a part of us, you know what to do. Give the video a thumbs up. So today we dive straight into the topic which I already told you, location, and why it is very, very important when it comes to real estate investments. So the next time you're shopping for a new property, keep the following facts about location in check. Number 1, location by centrality. Now, where you choose to live in a city or a town will undoubtedly predict or dictate how much you pay as rent as tenants for your apartment or how much you make or you get as rental fee for your house or home as landlords. Land is a finite commodity, so cities like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt that are always increasing in capacity and getting crowded and do not have enough room for expansion, especially Lagos, still tend to have higher rent and huge prices on properties than cities that have enough room for expansion, just because they are highly placed and are getting well developed every day very fast. In other words, people tend to concentrate on the bigger cities and even the best location within the same city. Number 2, location by neighborhood. This on its own entails a lot of factors and it is very wide, but I will try to break it down as much as I can. Some neighborhoods that appeal to you could largely be a matter of personal choice and preference, and these same neighborhoods or even the government may dictate the type of building allowed within, to what height and the size of land on which your house could be built. What I mean is, it may be very difficult most times to buy 2, 3, 4 plots of land all together and merge into one in a particular location. Besides, some properties that are situated in the high demanding areas like Asokoro, Maitama, Ikoyi, Banana Islands, Lekki are already out of most investors' reach and are very much overpriced. I mean, they are at their peak. It would take another very serious recession and a lot of cash to gain entry into the real estate market in those areas. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any financial sense just going in. But the markets and properties that are accessible to most investors are those that are up and coming, those ones with more rooms for growth. For instance, areas like Aja, Shogute, Dolakwe, Ibejuleki, and all the way down to Epe. However, neighborhoods that are well planned and thought out would have a few key factors in common, such as accessibility, the appearance, the amenities, and most especially security. Let's discuss these key factors in common a little and one at a time. The first, accessibility. Neighborhoods that are situated not too far from the city's major transit routes and with more than one entry point of course are the best. For instance, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Ogun, Lagos states, or the Etiosa-Lekki Coastal Road and the Lekki-Epe Expressway on the Lagos Island, or the Oworo-Shoki-Oshodi Expressway on the Lagos mainland, or the Nnamdi Azikiwe Expressway and the Muritala Mohammed Way in Abuja, and all those Rumuways in Port Harcourt. Commuting to and from work is a very big part of our daily lives. So a house or a property with easy access to the major road or the main public transportation system in that area would be more desirable than that one which is stocked far away and can only be accessed by that road like that, like roads in Agbado and Ijoko area of Ogun State. Oh my God. Pregnant women should strictly stay away from those kind of roads. You know what I mean? And of course, there are also quite a few of those kind of roads in Lagos as well, like the Mile 2, Ojo, or the Epe-Ijebu-Ode expressways. Those roads are no roads at all as of today. The second is appearance. The appearance of the neighborhood is also very important. Large trees, tree-lined driveways and streets forming very beautiful avenues, quality landscapes, relaxation parks or recreational spaces and more tends to be very desirable. You can also judge the popularity of a particular neighborhood based on how long homes and property in that area stay on the market. If the turnover is quick, then you are not the only one who is thinking of owning a property or who feels like living in that particular location. Besides, another very important factor when it comes to appearance is properties and homes with a view. And this is very interesting. Some homes or properties sell very fast and for some insane amount of money just because they provide exceptional panoramic views of the city at night, or even a beautiful view of the ocean with soothing breezes. Come on. Some other ones with views such as mountains, green belts, golf courses, and some of the best views in the world today. Views in the skylines. That is, the topmost apartment of a particular skyscraper, like far above in the clouds, like in Burj Khalifa. Those ones are exceptional. Probably one day in Nigeria. I learned something is coming to Eko Atlantic. Let's see how it goes. Let me also mention this. You can practically change everything else about your house or home. The appearance, such as the finishing, you can increase the numbers of rooms or even make it bigger through renovations and upgrades. However, it is impossible to change your neighborhood, your location. Once you acquire a property or a building in a particular location, you are definitely tied to the land size and the property until you are fully ready to dispose of the property permanently. Well, with today's technology, moving houses is now very possible if you want it and can afford it. Don't be surprised. You can Google it and you will see a lot of videos on people moving houses. The third is amenities. A great neighborhood should also have very important amenities such as stable power, malls, grocery stores, shopping complexes, cinemas, recreational facilities and centers, clinics, hospitals and restaurants. Of course, most people like to be frequent in places that are very convenient. Schools and playgrounds are another very important amenities. Even if you don't have kids yet and you want to sell your house in the future, many buyers will be on the lookout for properties with good schools in the neighborhood. The kinds and the quality of schools around, as well as the distances of the schools from the houses, are both very important factors to consider as well. The fourth and the most important is security. Safety is paramount and non-negotiable. A neighborhood that has very low crime rate would be a safe place for daily outdoor routines like night strolls or work or early morning jogs. Now, on a lighter note, taking into serious consideration, properties, especially homes that are extremely too close in proximity to a train station, major highways or car parks, city malls, or houses that stand next or directly behind a commercial property such as a grocery store or a gas station, or even houses on the streets that get unusual amount of parked cars. Though you can get this property or you can acquire them for very low prices, but that also means it will be drastically lowered in value because of the traffic and the noises. And also it would be much difficult to sell later if things grow worse. Alternatively, a house with a wonderful view or near a body of water, like I said earlier, would be more valuable both now and whenever it is time you feel like selling it. A very important key factor when considering property location in respect to neighborhood is the mid to long-term view regarding how the area is expected to grow and evolve over the investment period. For instance, today's peaceful and open area or land just behind the residential house could someday turn into a noisy manufacturing facility, thereby diminishing the property's value. Thorough review of the ownership of the property and the intended usage of the immediate area could be a very crucial information for your investment. Another very unfortunate fact about our country is how sprawling our cities are becoming. Like I said earlier, even the buildings next to you in a very peaceful neighborhood could be sold tomorrow, demolished and turned into those outdated, very noisy gas stations, or worse, building block manufacturing facilities right in the middle of a residential community. Oh my God. So one of the best ways to avoid such instances is to gather enough information about what the prospect of the vicinity of the properties you are considering investing into by simply contacting the local agency in charge of urban planning and zoning, usually known as the town planning office in some areas of Nigeria. Most unfortunately as well, a lot of these urban or town planning agencies have seriously neglected their purposes and massively deviated from their master plan. Well, still contacting them could give you a very in-depth information into the long-term view, how favorable and unfavorable owning a property in that area would be, and for which purpose would be the best for the investment. The number 3 fact about location is location determines the market and the investment strategy, the supply and the demand factors. The real estate market is geographically defined. which means that the supply and the demand of a property is mainly determined by its location. When investing in real estate, you should not buy a home in an area with an excess of rental properties. The location alone can give you insights into the prospective rental pool and the possible maintenance issues you can expect to have. High turnovers and regular maintenance issues are hallmark of lower income markets, mostly affecting properties near colleges and universities, because some students are very destructive and the rental properties in those areas are very hard to keep up with when it comes to maintenance. Also, you might be wasting your marketing tools by highlighting amenities that appeals to families, such as 2, 3, 4 bedroom apartments in an area where the rental pool consists of mostly single adults. So, while it is important to consider the ways in which you prefer to invest, it is even more relevant to establish the real estate investment strategy appropriate to the location to maximize appreciation. There are many areas within a city where a traditional low-income strategy may be the best option due to the type of jobs and income earning capacities, the neighborhood and nearby services, and the accessibility to the area. On the other hand, some other areas with high-end income capacity would fit better if you invest in real estate and subscribe to services of reputable real estate agencies or services like Airbnb because of the availability of entertainment venues such as cinemas, the clubhouses, game houses, and tourist attraction centers, or recreational centers with roller coasters and Disneyland. If only we had one in Nigeria, or even anytime soon at all. Well, in both cases, the location will be a deciding factor when it comes to selecting the correct strategy for investment. Okay, let's take another simple approach to view how very important location is in terms of siting your real estate investment. Practically, it will cost you around the same amount of money to build a type of or any type of house you intend to build in any other location outside of the city, compared to building the same spec of building in a location with far greater prospect, especially in the fastest growing communities or cities. For instance, the margin in the cost of building a 3-bedroom apartment or flat on a piece of land somewhere in Elawe Ekiti or say Ikire in Osun State, compared to building the same spec of house in Aja or Asokoro or in Shogotedo will be almost negligible, because buying cement, gravels, roofing sheets, and other building materials do not cost any less in Ekiti State or in Osun State, except for one, the major price difference in the land itself, which of course we all know is the best appreciating asset, and 2, your taste when it comes to finishing. In other words, homes in the cities that have just very little room for expansion tends to be far more valuable than those far away from the cities with plenty of rooms for expansion. For example, a 3-bedroom apartment of the same finishing and standard that would cost about 350 to 450,000 naira per year for rent in areas like Akege and Ogba would cost nothing less than 450 to 550,000 naira in Bagada and Akoka, and between 550,000 to 700,000 in some areas in Lekki, Aja, and Shogotedo. Different locations, the same city, different profit values for different landlords. So the location will always have a great weight in determining the rental price of a home or any property at all. Other very important facts about location, like I mentioned in my last episode, is location influences the attractiveness of the property. As I have mentioned earlier today, there are some features that can increase the attractiveness of a property or a neighborhood, such as schools, hospitals, green areas, parks, malls, cafes, supermarkets, restaurants, tourist attraction centers, and most especially easy access to major roads, and of course security. You should view the whole idea from the user's perspective, as this would always help you to look for places and good locations that would be of better value or greater comfort to your clients. So in some other topics soon, I will further break down some strategies on how to spot and identify great locations for your real estate investments. And that wraps it up for today. Don't forget to check out our real estate listings on any of our social media handles, especially on Instagram, as well as on our WhatsApp business catalog. Kindly click on the link in the description below to view. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel via YouTube by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Enable notification by clicking on the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you'll be the first to know whenever I upload a new video. All the social media handles at The Bishop Realty. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.